History has been around for around 7 years now. And today I have the pleasure to interview one of the founders. So Matt, tell us about yourself.
Well, Nico, I am Matt. I'm 29 years old. I am half Puerto Rican, half French. I spent some of my life in France and the rest of my life in the US. I have been passionate about entrepreneurship since the age of 19 when I read Richard Branson's autobiography, and it changed my life. At the time, I was kind of just being a party animal and in college and not really focusing on school. And as soon as I read his book, it completely expanded my world. And I got really excited about starting businesses. So at 19, I tried to start my first business, and it failed very quickly. We didn't get any users. Then I tried to start my second business and it failed. And then a third, and the third one started to work. That was in my third year of college. And with that working, it was a clothing company where we partnered up with street artists and gave back to homeless people in their cities. And it was like a social entrepreneurship kind of startup, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. It was very stressful.
It sounds
but
cool.
It was really cool. And this was in Montreal where I was going to school, and I enjoyed just the process of like having an idea and then seeing it in physical form was so mind blowing to me. It was like I could transfer this thing in my brain and put it and sell it to people, and they would buy it and wear it, and I would see them in the street wearing it. It like blew my mind. Sorry, I'm just putting it down my windows because it's a little hot in here. So yeah, I think I kind of got hooked. I got really hooked on the entrepreneurial train, and that's kind of what led me to Yes Theory. That's how I met some other entrepreneurs, and we kind of embarked on our crazy journey.
Yeah, I know the story of how Yes Theory met. I've heard it like 4 different times, so I'm not gonna ask it. But what were those 2 companies that failed? I want to say
the 2 company. Good question. The first one was a company called Bright Spots, and the goal was to create a website where all the best environmental innovations could be on one website. So if you had like a great thing that you created at your school that made it more sustainable, we put it on the website so that other people at different schools could see it and put it at their schools. The difficulty with that was that nobody really seemed to not necessarily seem to care, because I think people do care obviously about the environment, but it was just more it just wasn't a very exciting website. Like not many people used it, and so I just kind of gave up after 6 months because it wasn't getting any users, and I felt like I wanted to create something physical first, but that wouldn't be for a little bit. The second startup was a company called Foreign Fans, and the idea was, Nico, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite team? What's your favorite team? Sports?
Manchester United and Barcelona. I see Barcelona.
Right. Let's say Man U. So you're a Man U fan, and when you're a little older, probably not right now, you travel to say a place like Japan. And in Japan, it's probably difficult to find the Man U game and find Man U fans. But this website, the idea was, what if we connect you with other fans in these foreign places, and you guys can watch the game together at bars or their houses or whatever.
That's such a cool concept.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I thought it was a great idea. I thought it was going to be $1 billion company. I started with a friend, and the friend was really excited about it too. Signed a contract, split it 50-50. And then we started reaching out to bars to host these events and these watch parties and stuff. And the most difficult part was just getting, like, there were so many specific rules around bars being allowed to play what games when. And after another, 9 months with that, I was just like, I just don't know if I care that much about this. It was a big lesson in just entrepreneurship is so difficult. Starting a business is so difficult that you have to be so obsessed, and it has to be your, I was talking to my friend today. You have to be kind of crazy about it. Like it's like you have to be crazy in love, and you're seeing something that other people aren't seeing, because it's going to get rejected over and over and over. And if you're not going crazy over it, nobody else will. And I just wasn't crazy about that idea. So I kind of just put it on the back burner.
Yeah, that idea is a definitely good idea. I personally like it.
Thanks,
is there any more backstory about the clothing brand? Like, why did you start it? Where is it now? Like, stuff like that.
For sure, yeah. That was my third year of university. I was living in Montreal, Canada at the time, and Montreal has the most. If you ever go to Montreal, you'll be amazed. There's the most incredible street art. There's street art everywhere, and it's just on these murals and all these bright colors, and all these artists from around the world come every summer for the mural festival. It's one of the biggest street art festivals in the world, and they just paint the whole city. And I loved it. I was obsessed with the art, and so I went to Internet a street art gallery just for fun. Started meeting a lot of street artists, and I started to notice that right next to the murals, there were all these. The homeless population was growing rapidly in Montreal, and they were usually right next to the art. And I just kind of realized there had to be a way to use one to help the other. Like, how do we use this incredible art to help the homeless? And so I developed this concept of, what if I partner up with a street artist, take their design, like they create a design specifically for my company, and I give back 10% of the profits to a homeless organization in that artist city. So we worked with artists from New Delhi, India to Honolulu, Hawaii to, an artist in Poland. It was all over the map. And with each purchase, we would find a homeless organization to partner up with in their cities. And that one I worked on for about 2 years, and it started to grow pretty fast. We were in 10 stores in Montreal. We were getting sales every day. We had a 30-person ambassador program at a university that were helping. They were like sales reps. We were throwing big sold out events. It was really exciting. It was like the first time I had a business that actually started to work. And I was like, whoa, this is when a stranger buys your product for the first time, there's really nothing like it. I remember the name of the first girl, the woman that bought a t-shirt from my website, who I didn't know, who wasn't a friend or family member. And her name was Lisa Smart. And I tried to find her on Facebook and I just couldn't. I was like, who is this person that found out about my website? This is insane. Oh my God. I just like,
did you find out who it was?
Like, I never found out. No. If maybe she's watching this, Lisa, hey, thank you.
Did you think it was going to fail, or did you think it was actually going to do good?
I think I have a tendency to be overly optimistic, where every idea I have, I'm like, that's the biggest company that's ever existed. I'm like, I instantly go to the most extreme, most incredible, biggest thing, sometimes to a fault. But no, with this one, I remember my mom pulled me aside about a year in, and she was worried. She was like, you got to figure something else out. And I looked at her, I was like, Mom, don't worry. We're going to be massive. And I had obviously no idea that this would turn into Yes Theory and everything that happened after. But I think I always kind of had faith that something big was going to happen.
How did that turn into Yes Theory?
In the winter of 2014, I got an email from a marketing class at the university that I'd gone to. They asked if they could have 4 of their students consult for my company. They were looking for local companies to consult for. And I was always looking for advice and help. So I was like, yeah, 100%, it's free. And so about a month later, I met with the students. We met at a coffee shop at like 6 p.m. There were only 3 out of the 4 that showed up. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I thought it was supposed to be 4. It was 3 girls. And they were like, yeah, there's this 4th guy. His name's Thomas. He's always late, but he's going to come. We called him. He was napping, but he's late. So he's
Really?
going to run. He's going to run over to the coffee shop. I was like, no worries. And then 20 minutes later, Thomas shows up, and it's weird. It's like it's almost like obviously it's not in a romantic way, but you know how when you hear romantic stories, it's like you lock eyes and you talk and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Because I never met anyone that I'm like kind of crazy in like in just these ideas and wanting to do all these things. And I never met anyone that was crazy like me. So it was suddenly like he walked in and started telling stories of his life. And he had tried to start businesses too. And together it was like this. It was like, bam, okay, we're locked in. We know how to, it's like speaking a different language. Even the girls we were with were like, what the heck is going on? And we were just firing stories, being like, oh, no way, you did this, you did that.
It's like one of those people who you just met, but like you guys interact like you've known each other for like years.
You've known each other forever. Yeah. Have you had that with anybody? Any friends or anybody that you know?
I know. Yeah.
It'll happen more and more, I'm sure, especially as you get to know yourself better. Yeah. I'm sure there's some. I don't know about this, but I wonder if there's some 13-year-old kid out there who's doing his podcast, and you're like, no way.
There is this kid. His name is Max Basler. He's 13. And he has a really cool YouTube channel. His like videos are amazing, like cool. At another level. He also has a podcast, which I don't think he's done for a while, like a couple of months. But yeah, his videos are amazing. I reached out to him to interview him, but he hasn't checked his email. So yeah.
Oh, really? Max Basler. What kind of videos does he make?
Tech videos.
Oh, cool. Is he like pretty well known, or is he just starting out?
He has 2K subs.
Okay, so he's starting out. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I just have the link in the chat.
Nice.
But yeah.
Oh, sweet. I'll check him out.
But yeah, what inspired you to start doing this like YouTube stuff?
For the YouTube thing, one of the things that I started to notice when I had the clothing company was the most successful companies were getting YouTubers to wear their clothes. They were just like giving them, and they were their friends, and it would like shut down the website. There were so many orders, and I kept hearing these stories. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna find a YouTuber. So I looked up all these different YouTubers that I followed. I've been watching YouTube forever, and I sent them my clothes. I was like, with a note, would you mind wearing this in a video? And after a few months, nobody answered. Nobody wore it in the video, obviously. When I met Thomas had a small YouTube channel. He had about 100 subscribers at the time, and he had made skits with his friends in school. It was just like a fun side thing that he had done. But when I saw what he was making, I just noticed like he was really, one, very, very funny, 2, a really good storyteller, and 3, the editing actually was quite good, even though he was new to it. Sorry, I'm gonna put this down again. And when I met him, I heard that he had a YouTube channel. I honestly, I was like, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. He's gonna be able to promote my clothes. He's gonna become a famous YouTuber, and I'm gonna have a successful clothing company, and it's all all going to work out perfectly. When I met him, I wasn't even thinking like, what, I'm going to be a YouTuber. That wasn't even like, it wasn't even on my radar. Thomas and I went for a drink about like a week later. And I remember telling him being like, I think you could be one of the biggest YouTubers in the world, but I was never like, I'm going to be a YouTuber too. I was like, I'll help you get there. But the intention was never for me to be a YouTuber.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So like, who was the one out of you guys that actually like came up with the idea of Project 30? And just like, why did you guys actually do it? Why do you think it did well and stuff like that?
Yeah, Thomas and I was a fan of this show called The Buried Life. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they were from 2010 to 2012 on MTV, which is something that doesn't barely exist anymore. But the show was about four best friends from Canada who were crossing off items off their bucket list. So they were traveling the world.
Seems similar to something.
Yeah, exactly. Wait a second. Were we influenced by these guys? And I was obsessed in college. It's like all I watched. These guys were my heroes. They just like the Richard Branson book. They just kind of expanded my whole world. And Thomas had never watched them, so one night him and I was like, I'll show you this show. I think you'll really like it. He watched 3 episodes with me, and then I went home. And then the next day, I woke up in my apartment and I had like 10 texts from Thomas, just like, dude, come over now. I have an idea. It's like, what? Okay, so I literally sprinted over and got to his apartment, and instantly he was like, 30 things in 30 days that we've never done before. It's like, what do you think? And instantly I was like, I love it. I mean, yes, that's 100%. I think it was just it was so simple, like the idea of, because we, both of us had graduated college recently. Like we were kind of like stuck in Montreal in our apartments, trying to figure out like how to have fun, how to have a good summer, how to like also move forward with our lives. And it just provided, like when Thomas said that, it provided an opportunity to kind of step away from everything we were doing and almost like enter this new universe of all sorts of possibilities where anything can happen. And I had never done anything like that before, but because him and I again spoke that language together, there was definitely a sense of like anything can really happen here. So we started brainstorming Project 30 and trying to figure out what that would look like. And then Amar and Darren slowly came in, and it became more than just the two of us. It became a whole squadron to tackle this big project over the summer of 2015.
Originally, did you like only want it to be you two? Then when like Amar was like, yeah, like how did like you guys tell Amar if he wants to join, or how did like he tell you and like same with Darren?
Yeah, so Amar came in super randomly. He was walking down the street in Montreal one night. I think you talked to him, right? So you know the story. Yeah, where he climbs on the rooftop.
Yeah.
And when Thomas came to me, he was like, "Hey, I met this guy who is the only person in the world with the permit to climb the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt." Yeah, and I was like, "What?" Thomas said, and I told him that he can stay on my couch for the 4 days that he's in Montreal. To be honest, I was hesitant. I was like, I don't think like we're going to be so busy. We don't need more distractions. But the next day, Amar came, and as soon as he came, it was the same thing I had with Thomas that night in the coffee shop, where it's like, when you're in a certain, like when you're thinking a certain way, it's almost like a weird sixth sense that you have with people. It's like, oh wow, almost automatically you're like you're on the same wavelength that I am, and like it's a shortcut to friendship. And within a day, Amar, Thomas, and I were just brainstorming all sorts of ideas and just getting so excited about this project and just getting ready to tackle it. And Amar was only supposed to stay for a few days, but ultimately decided to stay for the whole month. A very spontaneous way of doing it. But yeah, originally for YouTube, YouTube just felt like the thing to go for. At the time, it wasn't as big as it is now. Like now, it's definitely become just this Goliath. Like everybody is on YouTube, and like everybody wants, everybody wants to be a YouTuber. Everybody wants to be a content creator. But back then, when we told our friends and all this, it was insane. Like all our friends were like, you graduated from university and you're gonna get your ears pierced and tell us make a video about it. It's like, what is that even? What are you gonna? You're not gonna be able to get a job. Like Thomas's sister literally cried when he told her the idea of the project and what we were gonna do, like what some of the things were on the list. She was genuinely so worried that she bawled her eyes out. That's how not of a good idea this seemed like in the beginning.
Risky, yeah.
Extremely risky, yeah.
So you guys were uploading like these videos daily. How was it like actually like going out, doing those things, like rushing back home, editing and like publishing, like all that stuff? Like it
was it felt like boot camp. It felt like we had entered a of discomfort boot camp. There was literally not a second in a day where you could take time off. We would wake up at 7 a.m., go out to film till usually 2 or 3 p.m., sometimes 4 or 5. Get back, we would take all the footage. Thomas would sit down at his computer, cut it, edit it together. It would usually be done around 11 p.m. Darren and I would then take the video and then for the next 2 to 3 hours, email blogs and writers and any kind of, social media page to talk about the video. So that was kind of like the marketing side of it. And so it was kind of like a whole team effort where one person, we were all hosting, but one person was cutting, one was editing, and then the others were pushing it. So it was just helpful being a team. I think it's just obviously much harder being on your own. So we had that advantage for sure.
That's crazy. I've uploaded daily videos, but like when I did, they were like Minecraft videos, which are easy to make. Like all I was doing, I was going into like a Skywars Minecraft server and then like playing a game, talking about a random topic, and then editing it and uploading it. It was so easy, and I can't imagine doing like all these crazy stuff.
Yeah,
doing it daily.
How long were you doing daily for?
I did daily for a long time. Then I kind of stopped. And then like when I was little, I was uploading like 3 videos a day of like me just running around my house talking about random topics. And I deleted most of the videos, which is like so annoying. But I saw some of them left. But yeah.
Cool. Dude, it's pretty impressive. And honestly, the fact that you have so much output, it's going to pay off. Like I'm sure you're learning so fast. Do you feel like you're learning consistently as you continue to work on these things? Yeah.
Like every day I come up with like a new idea. Every day I like find a new content idea. Like it's crazy.
That's all. And is your dream, do you see yourself more as becoming a podcaster or more of a YouTuber?
It was like in the first couple of months of the podcast, I was still like thinking YouTuber is more probable and maybe I'll stop the podcast soon. But now it's like I see myself becoming more known as a podcaster instead of a YouTuber.
Cool.
It's because like I wouldn't be at 1,000 subscribers right now if I was looking at my podcast. And a lot of people like know me as the world's youngest podcast owner and not for like the Minecraft videos, which is good. But yeah,
that's awesome. I mean, dude, that's such a great headline. Like that's one of the big things we learned when we were marketing those videos is if you can have just like a
thing that makes you stand out.
Exactly. Something that makes you stand out, makes you unique. Because I agree, there's so many, I've heard of so many different people who do Minecraft videos, but the fact that you kind of pivoted, or like, you know what, that's pretty crowded. I'm going to try this. And the fact that it's working is awesome. And you have that label forever. You can say, I was the world's youngest podcaster.
Exactly. And I was trying to make it official with Guinness, but I got rejected 2 times.
Really?
Which was annoying. And they gave me
like, say why?
It was something to do with, let me check. We'll check it later. But I did 2 times. One was like, hi, I'm Nico, world's youngest podcast owner. Here's my YouTube channel. And I sent it. And then the others said no to that. So the second time, I actually tried, I made like a really long message, like the most famous people I've interviewed. And like, I'm the world's youngest podcast owner, like 7 times, stuff like that. They said no. They said, you can go for the longest running daily podcast, which I'm not going to do a daily podcast. And then the largest live attendance for a podcast. And those 2 things are pretty hard. But yeah.
I mean, if this podcast gets big enough, maybe you'll do the live one. Just get a bunch of people.
I was thinking of doing it on Zoom, but then I was like, that's a bad idea, kind of.
Yeah, it could get crazy.
Yeah, so hopefully, when my podcast is a lot larger, I can do a live podcast with someone. I feel like that's a very cool idea.
Nice, that's awesome. Do you have for your podcast? Is your goal to interview all sorts of people? Like, do you have a certain type of person in mind, or is it?
It's like I don't really care who I interview. Like the amount of subscribers doesn't matter. It's like I want to interview people who have an interesting story and I personally like. So I've interviewed people with 800 subscribers when I interview them. And yeah, it's like me, the number of subscribers doesn't matter. It's like if they have an interesting story, I'll do it.
Nice, dude. I love that. That's awesome. You're gonna find interesting stories everywhere. People are very interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So after the 30 days was over, in Project 30, what were you guys thinking? What's next? How did that go through Yes Theory?
Yeah, the main thing after the 30-day project was we had experienced something that I don't think any group of new strangers had gone through together it was like we had lived a whole lifetime together, and we had seen each other when we were mad, when we were sad, when we were angry. There like every emotion we had come out, because when you're uncomfortable day after day and you're tired and continuing, it's just like sometimes just you're showing parts of yourselves that you don't want to show to most people. So it created this really cool bond, and like we saw each other overcome crazy things that we didn't think we could do. We really challenged ourselves, and it just really taught me, best friendships are rarely people that you meet at like a party. The best friendships are ones where you're both kind of evolving together, where you're doing something together, where you're going through something there's uncertainty and adventure involved, and the transformation happens symbiotically. So there's like a relation factor. The experience heightens the friendship. Like if you've ever been on if you go to camp for 2 weeks, because there's so many experiences during camp that are like life-changing and awesome, those camp friends quickly become your best friends. It's like instant.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened to us. It's like we had all these experiences, 30 crazy experiences. And that's why I say it was a lifetime, because, some of my best friends, I haven't had like even 5 crazy experiences with. Mm-hmm. So it was wild with these guys to suddenly be like, okay, I guess we're best friends now. That happened really fast. But when we got out of the project, we had around 1,500 subscribers, I think. And I was like 24 years old, and my mom was like, okay, that was fun, but please get a freaking job. And Thomas's dad was so pissed at him that he stopped talking to him. Mara's parents weren't even talking to him. We were like, all our friends thought the project was cool, but they were like, all right, this is, cool. But to us, we were like, no, you guys don't see. This is what we're doing is crazy. Yeah, it has so much potential, not only for us and our adventures, but we were starting to see already in the very early days how this like small community was being formed. Like these people were starting to comment on each other's posts, talking about how they were challenging themselves, supporting each other. And we were starting to just see, like, we started just seeing the future, really, just being like, this could be freaking massive if we stick to it. So we got this new apartment, $600 a month, a little farther north of the city, and started committing to 1 video a week, and kind of giving ourselves space to go come up with bigger ideas. And some of those videos were adventures that we would drive sometimes to Toronto or like do crazier things, and it allowed us to just explore more. And the more and more consistent we stayed, the more and more viral our videos became, because we had more time to really create something special. Mm-hmm. We had a few big viral moments that kind of gave us some attention.
Yeah, it's like it's crazy how you like build a community, even though you guys were like a small YouTubers, and like a dedicated community with like those small YouTubers, which was crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, dude, you have 1,000 subscribers. I mean, that's what we had pretty much after the project. And you'd be surprised what you can do with 1,000 subscribers. Like,
yeah,
like that's a lot of people. Imagine all those people in one room. You're freaking too much.
Some people quit because you only have 1,000 subscribers. But if you actually think about it, put those 1,000 people in a room, you'll see how many people it actually is.
Yeah.
And like for you, which is like 6 million, almost 7 million now, I think. Like imagine those 7 million people in one room. That's like another level, like of crazy.
Dude, I know. It's insane.
But yeah. So what does seek discomfort mean to you?
What does seek discomfort mean to me? Seek discomfort to me means evolution. It's like when a lobster in its shell and starts to get bigger and uncomfortable, it has to remove its shell and replace it. And that happens over and over in a lobster's lifetime. It gets bigger and bigger for the shell, and it takes it off and then goes and finds a new shell. And in your life, if you're approaching it from a place of seeking discomfort, you're intentionally seeking evolution. Like you're intentionally going after things that are going to challenge how you think. They're going to challenge your perspective. They're going to challenge what you believe about yourself, your ideas of who you are, or who other people are. And it's, I hesitate a little bit because it's become it's just the way I think now. Like me, fear, for example, like fear is what you go towards. Like the discomfort that you experience is the fear that you go towards. And so when I see a fear that I have now, my immediate response is I'm going to go towards that fear. Like it's no longer fear. Oh my God, please leave me alone. It's like, okay, fear, what do you have to say? And so many times when we were doing all these different adventures, I mean, it was just excruciating, the brutality of the fear and the hesitation that comes with it. And just not wanting to do it at all. Even simple things like walking up to a stranger and asking for a request was so scary. We're like, what if they reject us? What if they think we're crazy? What if they call the police? But every single time, even when we got rejected, there's like a high you experience after.
Exactly.
It's like great relief where you're like, that went actually way better than I expected. I don't have to worry so much. And then each time that you do it over and over again, it builds this muscle where this like discomfort muscle where it's like, oh, it's not going to be as bad as I think it is. Whether it's like if you're about to give a big speech in front of, like you are, Nico, in front of 1,000 people, you feel the discomfort come on, but you're through practice, you're so much better able to just sit with it, just like see it coming. You see it coming. You see the fear and the discomfort, and you're like, we're good, and it just passes by. It's kind of like meditation. It's just like, cool, okay, let's move forward. So yeah, I mean, seek discomfort is, talk about like a magic pill. Like if everybody could take a magic pill and get everything they want and love themselves and all these different things, if they just followed that philosophy, seek discomfort, they would get to that place. It's a guide, very much a guide.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, it's like they're giving a speech in front of like 1,000 people. I just want to mention this. But even though like I'm not actually saying those 1,000 people, I can't see like the faces. Just knowing there's like 1,000 people there, it like helps me actually like speak to my friends more confidently, like speak to like random people like school, I don't know. I go up to them, and yeah, YouTube has helped me with that, like it's helped me like making friends and stuff like that, like be able to talk to people more easily. Same with the podcast, that's helped me out a ton, because some people lost their social skills in the podcast, like in the quarantine, and I gained social skills, which was funny.
Do you feel like can you see a really big difference between like your first one and your last one, like the first podcast?
The podcast is crazy because it was I like in my house in Mexico, it's like the bathroom door's right behind me. That door was open. Like the sheets were like all messed up. And the person I was interviewing, my brother, would say something, and I would completely ignore what he was saying and say the next question. And it's like the first couple of podcasts were like that, and then I started learning, interacting more, and yeah. So there's definitely a big difference.
That's hilarious. Have you ever seen Joe Rogan's first podcast?
No. Because on YouTube I went.
It's like the end of the podcast. It's like a few minutes. It's exactly how you're describing your first one too. There is no structure to it, and I think that's the key, right? Is like he just kept going and improving, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah, when I went to like, I'm on his YouTube channel right now, and there's a couple of them, and like there's like 6 podcasts, and then all of a sudden episode 600.
Oh wow, really?
A ton of ones are skipped. It goes from 692 to 717. It's like I don't know, but yeah,
that's interesting.
It's weird. Yeah, I've interviewed like you're the third person that's part of the Yes Theory team I've interviewed, and it's crazy seeing like how each one says different things and like what discomfort means to them. Yeah, it's cool having different perspectives.
That's cool. I wonder what the other guys said. What did they say?
You have to watch the podcast.
Yeah, that's true. I gotta subscribe and watch the podcast.
For Amar, I actually don't remember. I don't know if I even asked the question. I think I did. Tommy, he said it was like doing things you don't like, stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's what he said. I'm not sure. Yeah,
that makes sense. That's the thing with discomfort, especially. It can mean so many different things to different people. It can mean like chasing your biggest dream, but it can also mean just like eating a weird food. It's like it's like all over the spectrum, and it's dependent on your own fears and what makes you uncomfortable, right? It's not like like skydiving doesn't make Amar uncomfortable at all. That's not really a discomfort for him. But for some people, that's like worse than freaking anything in the world. So that's what I love about it. It's just very personal to you, and so you have to listen to what comes up for you and just guide it, use it to guide you.
There's a funny story about skydiving. One time, one of my friends just starts calling me, and he randomly says, "I'm gonna go skydiving," like a couple months ago, and I'm like, "What? Are you crazy?" Yeah, he hasn't done it yet, but I don't want to go. But yeah, I feel like I would do it, but like I want to be a little bit older to do it.
I don't. Are you allowed? I actually don't know what the minimum age is.
I don't know either. He just said one day that to me. You mentioned like chasing these dreams. What's the craziest thing you've done with Yes Theory? Being a part of Yes Theory.
Craziest thing. The hardest thing for me was I did an Ironman. For me, it's a big triathlon. That was a dream of mine forever, and it was a dream, but in the way that it was so far out of what I thought was possible. When I thought about I couldn't even imagine myself doing it or finishing it or being a person that is able to finish in the top quarter of the race, And because of Yes Theory, because of going from very small discomforts in the beginning, gradually upping the discomfort and like gradually making it bigger and bigger and bigger, it got to a point where I was like, oh, maybe I can do this. Maybe like there is potential for me to tackle this. And I did it in 2018. And it was, 2019. And it was 8 months of training, hardcore training. Whilst we were still filming, while we were still traveling, I was swimming, biking, and running. Sometimes 4, 5, 6 hours a day. And physically and mentally, it was just complete torture. I had a friend of mine, a partner who I was doing with, and he was like a physical trainer. He was a coach, so he was like this. This was his life. Like he was used to doing these kinds of things. But even for him, it was even hard. So him and I trained, and the goal was to hit it in under 12 hours, to finish the race in under 12 hours. And at the beginning that felt impossible, but the more I trained, the more I was like, oh, maybe I can do this. And then on race day, I was on track to do 12 hours. And then on mile 10, I have completely ran out of battery. Like my whole system shut down and I started to walk, and I wasn't going to hit my time. I was so bummed because I trained so hard for it. And after walking for like 15 minutes and looking around and people around me, the Ironman is crazy. You just see people completely collapse on a race. It's like one of the hardest races in the world. And the second I like started to look around, something hit me, and I suddenly had my brother, and this is how delirious I was. I suddenly had my brother. I imagined that my brother was next to me, and I imagined him saying, let's do this, I'll take you for the next mile. And so I started having this like conversation in my head between my brother, this like that was not physically there, but him and I were like in my mind talking to each other, being like, okay. And I imagined his hand on my back pushing me forward, and he took me the mile, and as soon as the mile was over, he left. And then Thomas came in, and Thomas did the exact same thing, and we had the same a beautiful conversation of his support. I just felt their support, and each mile a new friend or a new family member came in. For the next 16 miles that happened, and the second half of my race was faster than the first, and what it taught me more than any other event or challenge or discomfort that I'd ever taken on was you cannot do it alone. Discomfort, you can go out in the street and you can get uncomfortable in these things, but to really tackle big discomforts requires support. Like you need support network, because you are going to fall, and sometimes you're going to fall so hard that it's going to be impossible to get back up. And so the key and one of the big things that we've tried to push with Yes Theory, that the reason that one of the big things is pushing community. Like when you have a community around you who are also chasing what makes them uncomfortable and going after towards their fears, there's this, again, it's like that bond that the guys and I had during Project 30. It's like, we're going to make sure that you commit to what you said you were going to do, and we're going to love you through it. And that love and that support and that connection comes through in the most difficult moments, like it did for me.
Yeah.
And ultimately, with Yes Theory and Seek Discomfort and all these amazing things, it was actually not finishing the Ironman that did it for me, and doing it under 12 hours, which ended up happening. But it was like the incredible realization that like I had this family. I just felt connected. I was part of a tribe, and it was life changing, especially for that reason.
Yeah, I can imagine. Even though like them like running with you probably like wasn't real, like I can imagine that like in the moment it felt real, kind of.
Sure. Oh yeah. Oh, it was completely real. They were there. It's like it was like a full energetic. Every part of my body was like, they're right here. When you're that exhausted, weird things start to happen.
Where were they when that was happening? Like actually,
they were at the finish line. So they were like 16 miles away.
Okay. And then I've seen the video. You like hug each other. But yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
The video is amazing. If you haven't seen it, watch it. I'll probably leave it in the description. But yeah. Moving on to the next question. We talked about the craziest moment. Is running the marathon your favorite moment, or is there like another favorite moment?
Favorite moment? The Will Smith responding to our challenge was like the most insane experience I think of my entire life. Because we were still, at the time we had like 700,000 subscribers, so we were like starting to become, like decently big on the platform, and and Will had around the same amount of subscribers, and we challenged him to do helicopter bungee jump. We didn't know anybody on his team. We weren't connected at all. And when he responded 8 days later and said yes, it was the first time Yes Theory really became legitimized. Like even up to that point, my mom and my dad were still calling and being like, my brother dropped out of school, and they were like, why are you doing this to your brother? All these different things. But to have Will be like, yo, these guys are sick, was to not only everybody around us, but to us was like, oh my God, he thinks that about us? this isn't, it's completely crazy. So I think that moment kind of brought us forward into like a new universe. Like it was like we were kind of
Yeah.
smaller time YouTubers, and that I think really put us. Did I lose you? There you go.
No, don't worry.
So that was we freaked out. That video, we filmed it of us reacting, and there was a big freak out.
Yeah, it was like it was kind of like I felt something similar because like a day before the interview, I was on my phone. And then I see Amar followed you on Instagram. Yesterday I followed you on Instagram. Amar sent you a voice note. Yesterday I followed you on YouTube, and I was like, "What?" It was like it was crazy. I actually like was so excited.
That's awesome.
And I think I was gonna call my friends at the time. And then after like the podcast after I uploaded it, Amar shared the podcast on his story. And then my friend's like, "You're gonna get so many subscribers." So we went into a call, and we were looking at my live subscriber count. I had like I think it was 500 subscribers, and I ended up with like 670, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I went up like over 100 subscribers.
Wow.
And me and my friends were freaking out. They were more excited than me. But yeah.
Dude, that's amazing. Isn't it? It's a crazy feeling. I think,
It is.
if you really like, if you're like really inspired by a person or, a content creator. I remember when one of my idols answered my tweet when I was in college, and I could not believe it. I was like, this man not only saw what I wrote, but took the time out of his day to respond to what I had to say. Like that blew my mind. And I never forgot that, because I was like, when I'm able to do that for people, I know how meaningful it is. And like, there's nothing better in the world than, surprising people with that kind of stuff and seeing their reaction. You're like, you can make somebody's day so many times over and over when you're in this position. It's awesome. It's like, here's a like for you, and then let's get on a call. And even when people come to us in the street and we're just like, I don't know, man, I'm just so excited to meet people that watch our stuff. It's just a really good experience.
It's like, it's crazy because like you mentioned, like your idols, like replying to your tweet on Twitter. It's like when I go down to the list of my favorite YouTubers, I've had an interaction with like half of them, which is crazy. Like I've talked to some of them to two over email, which is crazy. And actually getting to talk to them is like another different level. Like it's crazy. Every time I start interviewing another one of my favorite YouTubers, it's like amazing. Like it was like
who's your number one right now?
Right now, I can't even like. I don't even know. There's like a huge list I have. There's like Ryan Ng Films. I don't know if you know him. Jared West, Yes TV, obviously, like Mr. Beast, Elliot Choi, like Kelly Wakasa. There's a huge list, and I've talked to most of them. But yeah, Mr. Beast the only one's left. No, most of them. Yeah. I said half. But yeah, it's like when I go down the list, I'm like, I talked to him. I FaceTimed him.
That's awesome, man.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Well, I have no doubt by the end of the year you'll have a conversation like this with Jimmy, with Mr. Beast. You'll definitely.
Yeah, that'll be amazing.
It'll happen.
Yeah, it definitely will.
The second you start to think about it and put it out into the universe, it comes true. It's just kind of how things work.
And it was like, I never thought. Like, I wouldn't say I was early to watching like Logan Paul's videos, but like I remember the first video I saw, he did like a song about 2016. Like how bad of a year it was. And then I started watching his vlogs. And then I think it was a year ago now. I randomly got a call. Well, my mom asked in the group chat, "Where are you guys?" And my brother just casually sends a photo of like the fact I live in Paul's house. I was freaking out. And then like 2 days later, he FaceTimes me and he's local Paul. And that was crazy. And then I told him the first video I saw by you was the song you made about 2016, about how bad of a year it was. And he was like, "Oh, I should make a song about how bad 2020 was." And then he actually did it, which is crazy.
Wow. That's wild.
But yeah.
Damn, you gave him that idea.
Yeah. And I was joking to my friends. Where's my credit? He didn't credit me. Like,
That's awesome.
When was the point where you guys realized like, oh, we're like big YouTubers now?
I think in 2019 it just started to, we were used to being recognized all the time, but everywhere we went together it was constant. There's one point where we had our first meetup in Budapest actually in 2018, and we just posted on our Instagram. We were there for filming, and we had never been to Hungary. It was so far away from we're from, and we weren't expecting much. Thomas just was going on a run that morning. He was like, "Yo, we're meeting at this place at 5 o'clock. See you there." And so around 5 o'clock, we went to the plaza where we were supposed to meet everybody in front of like this big church. And I remember seeing this like huge tourist group, being like, "Wow, that's freaking massive," and then looking for our group. And then as soon as we started to walk towards the plaza, you just heard like, "Ah!" And that big group, those hundreds of people were
there for you.
They were for us. And to me, like it just completely, yeah, it stunned me. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
How did that happen so fast? And it was we spent literally 4 hours, like truly meeting every single person from that meetup.
Wow.
It took a long time, and taking a picture with every single person. And I remember going to dinner that night with the guys, and nobody said a word. Nobody said a single word the whole dinner. We just ate, and we were just all in like complete shock.
Yeah.
We were like, what in the world is going on? We were, these young dudes in a small apartment 2.5 years before this, and everybody was saying we were insane. And now these hundreds of people in Budapest, Hungary showed up because of a quick Instagram that Thomas posted. And like,
wait, was it on like the Yes Theory Instagram or like Thomas's private Instagram?
No, on the Yes Theory Instagram. Yeah, while he was running. So it was that was a shock. And then we did a few more meetups after that, and we would do talks. We would be out invited to do talks, and it would be crazy, man. It would be like, I mean, obviously there's far more famous YouTubers. Like, we're definitely not, or even just people in general. We're like not even close. But it was like, I never expected to be famous. So it wasn't like it was just weird. I was like, what the heck? You would walk into some of these places, and these young people would have like poster boards made and would be literally shrieking, hundreds of them. Ah! Ah! And you get on the podium to talk, but especially then, there's not a big age difference between us and them. It's not like we know that much more about the world than they do. We're not smarter. We're not, any of these things. We just like, honestly, we're kind of stupid enough to be like, let's just make videos and see what happens. And that's the weird part, is like there's this like idolization factor that I think fame just brings. But when you're experiencing it for yourself, there's definitely a sense of like, especially initially, like imposter syndrome, where you're like, I don't think they realize, like, I'm just a dude. I'm just a guy that has fun with his friends. And like, I get anxiety. I get pretty sad sometimes. Like, I'm not like, I don't have the answers. And so when people are looking at you and they're like, what do I do with my life? What are these things? You're like, bro, I'm trying to figure this out too. We're in this together.
Yeah.
It's like a team effort. But obviously now, I having done this now for 6 years, there's definitely like, you definitely get used to it, where you're like, okay. And I think you start accepting the fact that you do have something important to say. Like, you do have a voice, and you have, like, I mean, we've gone on like 250 adventures now. Like, there are things worth sharing to younger people that like really change our lives, and that I think can help a lot of people. Because I mean, I'm a different person from when I started because of what we've done. So it definitely has worked,
Yeah. And now, like, the crazy thing is, like, there's these huge meetups that are being organized that you guys aren't even a part of. Like, some of them you guys probably didn't even know that was happening.
I know.
There was one happening in like somewhere near where I lived.
Oh, really?
And
cool.
Because it was something to do with like the Yes Theory Discord group. And I'm in it, and you have to put what country you're in, something like that. And I put Mexico, and I was like looking through the chat, and like these guys are organizing a whole meetup. And then it happened. There's like whole Instagram accounts. I think like Yes Theory South Africa meetups follows me, something like that, where they do like meetups. And it's crazy how these meetups happen that are big, like without even you guys being involved.
That honestly, that was the biggest thing for me, and what I felt like was different for what we like, what Yes Theory represented was, I didn't know, like, we don't know any other YouTubers that have so many people meeting from the community without the creator there. Like, I've never, with David Dobrik, for example, I don't hear about David Dobrik fans meeting up. It's not a thing that they really, or Mr. Beast or any of these guys. But I think because our whole thing has been like, strangers are just friends you haven't met yet. It's like imbued this, it's like that's transferred into how these people in our community see the world and see each other. And it's just created this mass effect of, like you said, everyone just wanting to connect. And so now it's gotten to a point where it's like, we're just going to let them roll with it. Like, we're not even going to control this. Like, they're going to organize themselves and we're going to support, but we've kind of stepped out of the way in that way. Like, it's just such a beautiful thing to watch that we're just going to let it unfold, you know?
And yeah, it's definitely crazy. And it's got to the point where like some people know seek discomfort, but have no clue what yes theory is.
Exactly.
When I was in LA, we were in Venice Beach. We were at the monkey bars. Not like the big one in Santa Monica, but like the small one, like near the tennis courts. And then I had the yes theory sweatshirt on, like casually. And then all of a sudden a guy comes up to me. I like your sweatshirt and runs away. He was like running, like runs past me. I like your sweatshirt, continues running. And I was like,
that's awesome.
What? That's crazy. I don't know if you knew yes theory, but it's like so cool that like people that have no clue what yes theory is know it's discomfort, like know the message and stuff like that.
Dude, totally. And honestly, it's the I think the coolest part for me is sometimes I'll see somebody looking at me wearing it and they don't know who I am. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like that the fact that this person is wearing something that I'm a part of and
help create
that it's just part of their lives. I think that's a beautiful thing. Like when you're a creator or any kind of entrepreneur or whatever, like you're just putting it out there and the world kind of takes it and does what it wants with it. Your only job is to do it. You don't have control over what happens to it after. And so the ultimate responsibility of a creator is to let go. Like you have to just let go. And just like with our community, we let go. We didn't tell them what to do. We're like, this is what we do. This is what we believe in. We hope you do too. Let's see what happens. And then it's like magic. It's like people just know what to do. People are smart,
Yeah, it's crazy. You guys mentioned in your video where you were like kind of gonna stop being in front of the camera that there was a Destiny book in the works. How's that coming along?
It's great. So I finished now I'm on the second draft. It's really difficult to write a book. It's way more hard. It's harder than I expected. But honestly, I think it'll be really, really good. It'll probably come out in March of next year, February, March of next year. And it's pretty much about like how to take your life from a place of complete confusion about who you are and what you want to do to suddenly like being driven. Like it's like the story of my experience through yes theory, but being driven down this path of discomfort and finding your way back to yourself, which is ultimately what we're all trying to do. And so the book I want it to be like a Bible for the yes theory audience. I want it to be like whenever you feel stuck, whenever you forget what the philosophy is about, or you're looking for answers to the next chapter in your life, like I want specific stories that I've experienced with the guys to ignite something in the reader. Just like for me, when back to the Richard Branson book when I was 19, it's like that literally lit a freaking flame inside of me. I was like, this is possible. This is just like an average dude from Blackheath, London. This kid in high school can just build the biggest student magazine in the UK in 2 years. That's possible. Like that blew my mind. And then I've realized like with inspiration, like I know so many people who are like trying to be life coaches or inspirational speakers or any of these different things, but that's not the way you inspire people. That's not the best way to inspire people. The best way to inspire people is to be your own inspiration, to do the thing, live the life, and then people just see you do it and they're like, wait, you can do that? I didn't know you could do that. You're not talking about it. You're not saying, if Thomas Amar and I and Darren had sat in a room in the beginning and been like, yo, discomfort's good. This is like, you just got to get out of your comfort zone, man. And like, do these things. It's just the talking doesn't inspire. It's the action that really gets people going. And a lot of people want to make an impact and inspire the world and do all these big things. And I always say, don't look to inspire anybody. Look to just inspire yourself. And if you can do that, holy shit, you're going to inspire so many people. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I'm excited for the book. Whenever it comes out, I'll definitely get it. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be a good success. It will. You guys have a huge community that will support you guys through anything. Yeah. Now to the last couple questions.
Let's do it.
These are more like questions that like I want to know. So a while ago you guys did a video where you went on a blind date in Italy.
Knew it, Nico. I freaking knew it.
What happened
I was like,
to
where's
the girl?
he going with this? What's that?
What happened to the girl? Do you still like know her? Like,
what happened to the girl? We ended up dating for about a month after, and because we were in Paris and she was living in Paris, and then after New Year's, I had to go back to LA obviously for working with the guys, and it was just too difficult to do long distance. So we kind of called it off. And then kind of moved in, with our own lives, but it ended really well. It was super friendly, and we don't necessarily keep in touch anymore, but it's a great memory, and that's kind of the amount of times that's happened in videos and outside of videos. It's like you meet somebody amazing, you have this incredible experience together for however long, but there's no point in if it's not gonna work, you just you accept what it was, and it's cool, and you find something, you just move on, But she was really pretty. She was really pretty.
Yeah. I'm guessing it was like an amazing experience from like the video. It's one of my favorite like video of you guys.
Nice.
And yeah.
Hell yeah.
Where do you see us in 20 years? I've asked like Amar and Tommy the same question. So I don't know what kind of you see it.
I think for 5 to 20 years, well, 5 is going to be way different from 20, but ultimately the goal is to give people the tools and resources to experience the yesteryear in their own lives. So make it way less about us and more about how do we provide experiences for people. So whether that's, like literally giving them access to trips, or like giving them physical spaces to live and meet at and like work in, to like a big, festival once a year, almost like a Mecca where people can gather together and experience this. Yeah, all these things together. And I think the goal is to for this to outlive us, like for this philosophy to continue beyond what we created when we were these young 20-year-olds, and allow young people, and even people of all ages to have access to this way of thinking. So there's a ton of different ways to do it, and honestly the biggest thing for me is I've just realized you can't predict anything. Like business plans are great, but man, if I knew what I'm doing now versus what I thought I was going to do, it's just so different. If I knew when I was running my clothing company that I'd become a YouTuber and have these different companies, and I'd be talking about all these adventures, absolutely not. And I think that's the magic about with life is you see what comes up, you adjust, you pivot, and then you end up building something that you didn't expect, but that's exactly what it was supposed to be. So who knows what it'll be, but I think it'll be beautiful.
Yeah. Amar said something that he wants to build like a city, like the STU city. I think it's an amazing idea. And Tommy said, similar to what you said, like expanding beyond you guys, like to outlive you guys for 1,000 years. Are you ever going to come back to being in front of the camera, or you think you're good where you are now?
I'm actually sneak peek probably going to be in a video or two in October. I'm going to go to Europe and meet up with the guys just for fun. But I actually don't. It's going to be fun. I actually don't know right now. I'm so focused on I just really want to crush the book. I really want to tell our story as well as I can. And then I think once I do, I'll better be able to know what my role is going to be within it. If I do want to come back on camera or whatever. But the thing about being on camera is, I think some people really gravitate towards it. Like Thomas, for example, was born to be a YouTuber. Thomas is is such a great storyteller, loves to be on YouTube, all these different things. I don't think I'm necessarily like that. Like I prefer behind the scenes a little more. Like I don't like the week after week of filming really got to me. Like it became a little overwhelming. And so I think that I like kind of like a more slow paced lifestyle now. So that's difficult with Yes Theory to have a slow paced lifestyle. So there's just honestly some thinking to do. But I think with a project like this, if we were going to do the same thing for the next 10 years, it'd be boring. So we also have to evolve. Yeah, we have to evolve as people, and if we evolve as people, our content evolves too. So what we produce evolves. So that's just kind of the evolution.
And if you like continue doing the same content, your audience will get bored of it at one point, and they will have found like their new favorite YouTubers. So it's like if you see your audience is evolving, like try doing something else, experimenting and stuff like that.
You also may not even know what it looks like. It's going to be I think it'll surprise you, and that's the best part. Just allow. I guess the advice is really like allow yourself to be surprised, like surrender to the surprise, and then you're gonna find some magic. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, and like you said, like you don't know what to expect, like you don't know what to predict, like you said a while ago. And it was like if you would have told me 1 month ago before the podcast started I was gonna be doing this, I'd be like, "What's a podcast?" I would have probably said that. But I would have been so confused. Am I doing that? What is it? Like how? And stuff like that. And the funny thing is, the person who inspired me to do it didn't know he's the reason why I'm doing it until like a couple of weeks ago, which was so funny. It was one of my friends who interviewed a retired Mexican soccer player. And I found it interesting, so I was like, oh, I can do that. So
Cool.
I messaged my brother, can I interview you and two of your random friends? So I interviewed my brother, two friends. I started emailing tons of YouTubers. Yeah, that's just how it started. And I came up with the name on the spot. Like the name was
Cool.
like before I was about to start, I was like, Nicocast. Boom. And yeah, it was crazy.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and I mean, you're smart. You know, you have a brother. I mean, your brother's amazing. I love hanging out with him, and he's in like a class of people that are just incredible too. Like his friends
Yeah,
are, you know, Cliff and all these guys. They're
they're
really, really.
amazing.
You're talking to really special people. I got to tell you,
Mhm.
the people that you've interviewed, because I went through them, is like it's really unique. Like
Yeah,
it's hard to find people of their ages who are so
smart.
who are so smart. But I think that the most difficult thing to find when you're older is somebody who's really smart and ambitious, but also really, really kind, like really has a big heart, but
Yeah.
also is really driven. And when you can find those people, lock those people down, get those people
Mhm.
to be with you, because it's gonna be a fun ride with those kinds of people. So
Yeah.
I think it's cool that you know, for you at this age, that
Know
you're
these
getting
people,
you're getting to know these people, and you're getting to see
what
what
they
kind of
do,
person,
like
what they do, what
yeah.
kind of person you want to become too. You know, it's your experience right now with talking to all these people. I'm like, so if 13-year-old me had this opportunity to like talk to all these friends of mine that you're talking to, I've been like, that would have changed my life. And you don't even know how it's going to change yours, but you're doing something that
Yeah.
no young person is doing. And so you're going to really, really have a different perspective than a lot of people your age. And I
Mhm.
think you're going to grow up faster because of it. And so I think
Yeah.
you're probably going to end up, as you get older, spending time with people who are probably a little older than you too, because you're going to be more advanced in
Yeah.
like how you communicate and how you think. So just, I don't know why I'm saying all this, but just be aware of the fact that it's unique. It's awesome.
Yeah. And the thing that you mentioned, I'm talking to people like way older than me. Like most of the people I interview are twice my age.
Yeah.
How I think about it is crazy. And the one closest to my age is 4 years older than me. No, the same age. And then the next one was 4 years older than me, which is like crazy that I'm talking to these people that know so much and I get to learn so much from them. So yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Incredible.
So the last three questions, very quick questions. Like
That's
this can
it.
be like a sentence answer.
Yeah.
When are you guys coming to Cancun?
Cancun.
Yeah.
Ooh. Is that where you live?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. When are we coming to Cancun? I can't even, I have no idea. That is maybe we went to Mexico City a little while, a while ago, and
Yeah.
loved it. So if we ever go to Mexico City again, maybe we'll hop over to Cancun too. That'd be fun.
That'd be amazing. But anyways, the last question, do you have any advice for anyone who wants to start doing YouTube and stuff like that?
Any advice? I always say steal. Steal from your favorite artists, from your favorite creators, copy them, especially when your audience is quite small. You know, it's like it's just the perfect playground to test new ideas. That, you know, it's like I think Picasso said art is theft. And like the
Mhm.
best artists understand that art is not this like thing that just comes randomly to you. It's this thing, it's influenced by the things you watch and the things you're inspired by. So, you know, Yes Theory was inspired by The Buried Life, and like it ended up being very similar very, very early on. And then we gradually found our own style. And
Mhm.
eventually somebody's going to be like, I'm going to copy Yes Theory. And then they're gradually going to find their own style. And I think that's just like that's the agreement you make as a creator. And you can't be afraid
To
to
let people copy.
what's that?
To like accept that people are gonna like copy content.
Yeah. There's no need to defend what you've created. It's out there. It's going to be used. It's okay. But especially, I think it's also the advice for anybody that wants to start is don't be afraid to be the one copying. Because you're going to be, especially initially, it's not going to be a copy because it's you. You know, it's never going to be identical. Like your personality is different from the other creator's personality, even if the title is the same.
Yeah.
So that's the best way to begin. Obviously, don't do that forever, but begin with that and then gradually evolve into your own style. And it's going to be amazing what comes out.
Definitely. Yeah. And like on TikTok, some people get mad when they steal, and it's like, why are you getting mad? It's really like that's how content is made, like getting inspired from others and stuff like that. But yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, Matt, for coming on the podcast.
No worries, brother.
This really means a lot. And yeah, I'll see you next episode of the Nicocast.